We think that our country needs to change, our country needs to develop. It is only by educating the next generation that we can do it.
जब हाजी पब्लिक स्कूल यहाँ खोला तो इससे पहले की जो हालात थे वो बहुत गए गुजरे हालात थे.
The nearest road is about 8 kilometers away and it takes about 4 hours to reach there. So that means that
something even as basic as a car they have not really seen here. They don't know what it is, how it works, what it's like.
देखो कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लाइट रहती है 1 month को 200 hours.
On the 3rd or 4th of every month, you get the bills, but you don't get the electricity. The scenario is very bad.
This school is not just like any other school in a city where kids can easily relate to their surroundings, whatever they are studying. These guys need multimedia, TV, internet, or screen at least in their classes to see how things are outside.
But then what would happen is because the power situation was so bad, during the class where we had to show this, we will end up without power.
When the weather is bad, it gets foggy and the classrooms are very dark, and then we have to move outside the classroom to study.
Most kids have never left the village. Most kids have never been down the mountain. To explain to them so many concepts or so many things about the world, sitting in the classroom, that's possible visually. This project that sounds really exciting, to have a screen in each class which could kind of be connected to every teacher's laptop.
When we do explanations and show them videos and do experiments, I think the retention is much better and they know how to apply it.
Like my experience, I have learned the Battle of Plassey, which I learned from a video, but I still remember the answer from there.
They won't be studying for scoring the marks, but they will be learning things which will help them further in their life.
अगर लाइट हमें चला जाती तो हमारे पास गैस सिलेंडर जो है उनको यूज़ कर रहे हैं हम, लेकिन साथ में ही उस गैस से उन्हें इन्फेक्शन भी हो सकता नहीं हो रहा है, लेकिन देहात के लोग, गांव के लोग समझ नहीं पा रहे हैं कि ये सर दर्द बच्चे को क्यों है और ये जुकाम क्यों लगा.
The LPGs and kerosene are we get them at very high rates, and we have to climb through the mountain to bring them up here on mules. If they would get some kind of solar energy, they can use it at night to do their homeworks or anything.
Why am I doing this is the question. Why am I doing this?
After volunteering here for the second time,
That is when we three sort of decided that it is very important for these guys to get good education. We want to be the person who will sort of do the necessities required there. If people are willing to offer funds, we are going to definitely make sure that it reaches the right place, it reaches the school, it reaches the village where it will definitely make a difference.
Even a small contribution will help a student here to have a better future.
कि निगाहें मर्द मोमिन से बदल जाती हैं तकदीरें, अगर हो जो कि पैदा तो कट जाती हैं जंजीरें.
so growing up as a child in a city like Bangalore, whenever there were things that I did not understand in school, I would always realize that I had help around me. It was either my friends, family, relatives, or at a later stage, the internet. I'd like you guys to meet Amjad. Amjad's smart, extremely funny, a very, very good public speaker, and is doing extremely well in his studies. But until a couple of years ago, this wasn't the case. Amjad was studying at the government school in Breswana, Jammu and Kashmir, where he was hardly taught anything and remembers only being beaten up by his teachers. So then what changed for Amjad? Amjad changed schools. He moved to Haji Public School, which is in the same village, but relies heavily on volunteers who use innovative and experiential methods to make teaching both fun and effective. He is one of about 450 students who are currently studying at the school, and most of these kids are first generation learners. That means they can absolutely get no help at home. So I'm sure a lot of you are wondering what a boy from Bangalore is doing at a village called Breswana in Jammu and Kashmir. So back in 2014, I was at a job that wasn't really meant for me, a job that did not let me pursue my passions. And basically, at the end of every day, I would look pretty much like this. So a couple of days after I turned 25, I decided to change this completely. I decided to make a list of my passions and go out there and pursue them. I got on my motorcycle and I just went out to explore the country. About 5 months, a couple of thousand kilometers, and a massive, massive snowstorm later, I got back home with completely shattered stereotypes, a very, very different view on life, and a very massive beard. So it was post this that I first landed up in Breswana as a volunteer at Haji Public School. So Breswana is the arrow right there. It's a high altitude Himalayan village situated at an altitude of about 7,500 to 8,000 feet. The only way to reach Breswana currently is like this. So you either go up on mules, or in case you don't trust them, you could walk it up yourself. Now, as we know, for a long time, education and energy in remote communities like this has been ignored. And Breswana is no different. So once I got there, I realized that teaching kids is not easy. That smile on my face is a lie. And if Farad from kindergarten gives you that look, you know as a teacher that you're in trouble. Because most of them are first generation learners, they have not had experience the outside world. So when you're teaching them something that they have not seen or experienced, and if you're using only a textbook, you're going to find yourself short of resources to make that effective. And when the teaching is not effective, the concept is not understood. And if the concept is not understood, it remains very abstract in their minds. And no matter how well they do in their exams, you would have failed as a teacher, and it does not help the cause. So because of this, we used to use as much of audiovisual aids in the classrooms to make teaching more effective. For example, how do you explain to a kid what climate change is if the kid hasn't seen an ocean, or not seen a hurricane, or not seen a tornado? So we showed them before the flood. And believe me, by the end of the movie, we were able to make young kids who are 7 to 15 years old understand what climate change is. They could then relate as to why the mountains were getting warmer, why it was snowing much less. So at the end of this movie, we were able to change the whole notion about climate change there and make them understand it. But yet, the president of a certain country still has his doubts. For example, how do you show them how important education is and how it's a luxury? So we showed them I Am Malala. They made such a great connect to the movie, and in fact, they went back and spoke to their parents about it, and so it was a chain reaction. We were actually changing things on the ground. But there was one problem. Breswana, because of its location and terrain, receives about 200 hours of electricity in a month. Most of this is during the evening. So that means during the day when they're in school, the electricity is very intermittent and it's not dependable at all. So there was no way we could plan for classes where we would use our laptops to show them videos, or show them poems or anything. So I come with a bit of experience in the solar field, having been part of and led expeditions to electrify remote villages in the Northeast and Ladakh. And my education lets me understand energy requirements very well. So a culmination of all this and the urge to solve this problem resulted in us forming SauraMandala. As SauraMandala, our goal is to provide last mile electrification to aid education and improve the livelihoods of people living in remote and disconnected communities by using village-run solar enterprises and sustainable tourism as the means. So why would I do this? There's only one reason why I'm here, and it's only because of the passion that I have. If not for this, I probably wouldn't be standing here giving this talk right now. I firmly believe that there are 3 E's that are required to develop a society: energy, education, and employment. So the usual rhetoric is to bring in energy and hope for it to enable education and create employment. But our approach is a little different. We want to work with the villagers to create a sustainable social enterprise and set up a responsible tourism program which we will help them build, but it will be run by them in a way that it enables education, creates employment, and makes the shift towards sustainable and clean energy more possible. So the first step with the Breswana project was to electrify the branches of Haji Public School so that they would have a continuous and stable supply of power and could then run smart screens or use audiovisual mediums in the classrooms to make teaching more effective. So we've been able to successfully crowdfund the resources for this. We have electrified 2 of the branches, and we'll be electrifying the 3rd one in March. A huge problem in villages is the lack of employment, because of which we're seeing ghost villages. People are migrating from the villages to the areas where there is employment, and a lot of them work as road construction laborers, in which the working conditions are very unethical, and they don't even really make that good of a living. So how are we going to address this? 2 ways. So one is to help them set up a farmer-producer enterprise and the responsible tourism. So for example, if I take Breswana as an example, Breswana is completely agrarian. They grow corn, apples, apricots, walnuts. That's their own version of mozzarella cheese. So if you think about all these all are premium fruits. If you give them a way to form an enterprise and you help them set it up, they can actually create a lot of employment, and that's what we intend to do. Now let's have a look at what all you can do on one of our sustainable tours. You get to stay at a village homestay, experience the cuisine. Trust me, it's very, very good food. You get to camp under the stars, treks, and that's me on an apple tree, and it's that simple. There are some days where you can just open your window, put your hand out, grab an apple, and they're the best apples I've ever eaten. And depending on which month you go in, you get snow, you get to interact with the kids, you get to learn from the villagers about farming, you get to interact with them in their harvest festivals. But the key here is to do it in a very, very responsible way. So let me give you an example now of the kind of impact that you would create with us if you were on a 4-day tour of four people on a 7-day tour at the village. You would have employed people from 4 families. You would have impacted the livelihoods of 4 different other families. You would have contributed to the education of 3 children for a year at the school. You would have electrified the house that you're living in exchange for the hospitality that they provided for you. And by doing this, from that day onwards, there's a direct 2,000 rupees of money that they're going to be saving. So what's the long-term goal in all this? Our long-term goal is to keep doing this, get better at it, learn from it, make a model out of it, and then share it with social enterprises, share it with corporates who are interested, and share it with people like you. People like you who are passionate and interested about societal change. We want to work with you, collaborate with you, so that we can together reach a larger scale. If this is the impact that 4 people can make in 7 days in one village, can you guys imagine what can be done at a larger scale? Thank you.